It's your boy, the Bearded Brother, and I got my second episode of the Bearded Review. It's gonna be a little bit different. I know. It's my second episode. How do I have the audacity to switch up the style of my show? That's the fun part. It's my show. I can do what I want and what I need to. So, we got that out the way. I want to talk about the beer I'm drinking, but also 4 good tips for white people to follow and to make sure they have positive interactions and build positive connections with black people when they step into a brewery. But first, I want to get over this beer called Sly Fox. It's brewed by the Sly Fox Brewing Company in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. And from the looks of it, as you can see, get a copper amber kind of color to it. When you have an IPA, that's kind of on the traditional end. That's the color and look you kind of get from most West Coast IPAs. So this is going to kind of give you an indication of it being kind of piney, resiny, and really just hop forward, and which just means it's going to be bitter. When somebody's going to have to say it's really hoppy or anything like that, it's going to have a bitter kind of resiny taste to it, which people love, other people don't. But with this resin and this piney kind of taste, it's kind of has a little sweetness, but a little hop forward. So I would do something a little more flavor forward. So like I would do anything with like kind of blue cheese, like a blue cheese salad or anything like that. Kind of just balance out that hoppiness. But if you want to do something a little like softer like that, I'll probably do something like honestly, I'll probably do something a little bit like has like a sweetness to it, like a shrimp Alfredo or something like that. Has a little bit of sweet saltiness to it. I think that would give it a really nice balance to it, and it's gonna be really cleanse your palate, whether you cleanse your palate from the beer or cleanse your palate from the food. But enough about that beer. I just got very important information and some pieces of advice for white people. I know that's not the greatest segue, but that's the best I can do. All right. So there's just 4 pieces of information 4 pieces of advice that I've learned while going to different breweries and having different reactions and interactions with white people there. And the biggest one was like, you're surprised that I'm a black person that drinks beer. Like, you're surprised at my presence. You're surprised that I know what I know about beer and things like that. To me, there's a little bias in that because you only expect this from me, where I can conquer that as a person, but for whatever reason, you don't think I know about this space because of what I look like. So when I walk into a brewery, I can see wide eyes and like as if you're a deer standing in headlights. No, like I know beer like you can know beer. Like I was exposed to it, I learned about it, and I'm drinking, tasting my way through my favorite styles and not so favorite styles. So you come in and looking at me like I don't like you never seen someone like that. It makes me and some other black people feel unwelcome because it's as if like we had to sneak in there or seek your approval or anything like that, which that is not the case at all. As beer prides itself on building a community people can grow and be great in, that surprise makes that growth and that interaction like way more sour and way more difficult and not so easy to digest as a person of color more specifically black people in a brewery. So like we belong in spaces you belong in. We want to learn. We deserve to learn things that you guys deserve to learn as white people. And so make sure you're just like, see us in there. We know what's going on. So that leads me to my next point. You being surprised tends to lend itself into white splaining, which means like as a white person, you feel like you gotta or explain certain topics because you feel like you know more, only because only people you've seen are all the white people, and then all of a sudden this black person comes in this space and is doing certain things. You feel like we don't know what's going on or how things work in this space. So we can have, there's an IPA on tap, and I'm like, okay, what's so special about this IPA? You're like, well, it has hops. Hops are this. I was like, I understand what hops are. I was like, I see the flavor profile. It's crazy. You got Simcoe hops. You got Amarillo hops. You got Cashmere, and then you got Strata hops. What's going on in this IPA? Which kind of sounds like a good IPA, but I'll worry about that recipe later. But we see those hops, and we're trying to like understand like what's going on with this IPA. Well, it's got a lot of hops, so it's going to be this. Like, it's got a lot of hops, which hops do this. We didn't ask what hops did. We just asked what's going on. Like, as in, like, what's the flavor profile, or what the flavor we're supposed to get, or aroma, what are we supposed to expect in the body, or even the, mouthfeel. So, just kind of understanding what we're asking. And the only reason why I say that, we're like, well, that's such an open question. But also at the same time, I heard you talk to Steve and Chad, Sarah and Rebecca. Before them, they asked very vague questions, and you answered it very quickly and very easily. But when I asked that question, all of a sudden you gotta feel like you gotta start from the beginning, which is not the case. Because more times than not, I probably know more about you. I could probably know about this beer than you do. I probably know about the DO levels, which is the dissolved oxygen and things like that, and how long it's supposed to sit in a bright tank and all that. I probably know that more than you know that, unless you've been in the space longer than I have. Then that's a different conversation. But for the most part, if I ask what's going on with a certain beer, I'm looking for more flavor and the profile, because it's an interesting profile. I usually kind of can figure out what the flavor is going to be, or what the beer is going to taste like, or what the experience is going to be like from the description. So if I'm asking about that, I'm more interested in about like, how did you come up with this bill, and what am I supposed to expect? And then after that, and just, or even just like talking about beer news, as if from like who by who's selling where, who's distributing where, and things like that. Like that's a little more specific, so that's more for the beer nerds and people more strictly into beer. Talking about distribution, try and just like try to water it down for us. Like, no, we don't need that. Like, we'll ask those questions if we feel like we need more direction and understanding. And then after that, it's just like being able to understand that, like, you can't have that conversation with us about beer, but like knowing when that time is up to move on to another conversation, or go back to your table, or go to the group you're with. We usually come there together with someone we know, and that's the person we want to interact with for the most part. Have our beer, shoot the shit, crack jokes, roast each other, whatever we want to do in that space. That's what we want to do amongst each other. So, which leads me to a story, actually. There's a brewery here in Nashville that we all like and enjoy, because the patio is fantastic, and food was delicious, and the beer is really good. I won't say the brewery, just because they had nothing to do how this story went. And I don't want them slandered or talked about or misrepresented anyway in this story. But it was me, my fiance, some of my craft beer drinking friends, and we were all sitting there having a good time. I go to the bathroom, so I missed the first part of the story. So I'm just going to come in from where I return from the bathroom. And all I hear is this lady talking about how she's so tired of seeing white people in craft beer, and that she's so happy to see black people and diversity and things like that. It's just like she kept going on and on and on and on about that. And it's just like, it was to the point where it was just like, we were all running out of level of patience and kindness for this lady before she got cussed out. She was drunk, but that's still not an excuse to act like you could just be in our face and crowd our space, crowd our table. It kind of just make us have to accept you and make you feel like you did something right, when in fact you really didn't. It's a level like of racism where like it's like putting us in a corner and we have to deal with whatever we have to deal with. No, like, if we want you to get out of our space, we're gonna let you know. Like, we're gonna do it subtly. If you don't get subtly, then we're gonna forcibly let you know that. So with that story, it kind of blends into the last rule of the forced allyship lines. Those things are so cliche, from like, I'm tired of seeing white people. It's so great seeing black people here. I just love diversity and all this. And then you even, some white people take it a step further and try to show some sort of proof that they love black people. So, continuing that story, the first lady leaves after that, and we're like, okay, it's over. Whew, we can go back to drinking our beers and talking and things like that. Nope, wrong. We had another habitual line stepper come in. I know she's habitual, just how I'm about to tell you. So she rolls up, pretty much the same spiel. Like, it's so great to see you guys here, blah, blah. It's just, I can't believe y'all here. I didn't know y'all love beer like that. And just pretty much all the rules I've gone through, she broke all the rules in about 3 sentences, maybe even 2 if you wanna debate about it. But she's out here telling us how she supports Memphis because she lives out in Memphis, has a Memphis shirt, lifts it up. It's like, oh, look, Memphis, all this stuff, yeah, it's amazing. Like, I love when black people drink beer, da da da. I was like, man, you probably live in suburbs and you probably got that Memphis shirt on Amazon. Like, stop it. Stop. Like, we are not zoo animals where you just look in the window like, oh, come here. There's black people drinking beer. Well, I didn't know it was real too. I didn't know they drank beer. I thought they drank Hennessy. No, we don't only drink Hennessy. A lot of us drink wine. A lot of us drink other liquors. A lot of us drink beer. But you're just so used to living in this like bubble of seeing white men with beards, man buns, and things like that. And used to seeing Chad and Connor and Sarah and Rebecca. It throws you off when you see someone of color in there, because you don't expand and see beyond the walls and the bubble which you live. So like, following those 4 rules aren't foolproof, but they definitely give you really good tools on how to build relationships and build your interactions so they're positive and they have some growth and you can learn and things like that. Because we are everywhere. We exist in every space. And only way we can thrive and continue building these spaces is if we feel like we're safe in those spaces. If we don't feel safe in those spaces, that's something we don't interact with, we don't get involved with, because we're not going to see we're not going to see the payback on what we want of the time we invested in this space to create something. So, and with craft beer, everywhere you go, like bottle shops, liquor stores, or breweries, everything's so prided on creating a community. But how can you have community when the people look a certain way, and then when somebody else doesn't look that way, they almost get pointed out like a zoo animal, get alienated or get questioned, or any kind of random implicit biases that kind of come in to how like people of color, specifically, like more specifically black people, feel in this space. Is like, if we feel like we're just an oddity or like a novelty in this space, that's not something we are interested in. And we're not interested in interacting with people that look at us that way. But if you're a part of, and you follow those rules, or even beyond, and you're really trying to create what the craft beer community should look like, then that's the people you want to interact with. And you're actually actively putting in the work, and you're actually trying to build these relationships, and you're trying to build these interactions in a positive way. That's the white people we want to interact with. But if you're just trying to sit here like you were in middle school, talking to the random kid at the table just because you get cool points amongst your friends, you can keep that shit to yourself, because that's not what we're looking for. And you're gonna know that's not what we're looking for, because we can tell when you're coming from a genuine place. If you do these 4 rules of not white-splaining and understanding that we're allowed to be in your space and you're not surprised, not overstaying your welcome, or using just cliche ally lines just to get in and just say you did something cool, you made these black people react to you positively, and then you go back to the bullshit you were doing before then you didn't really do anything to create that positive, safe space. And that's why we have someone like me, the Bearded Brother, coming along and creating those safe spaces, because we deserve a place where we can sit down, be ourselves, let our hair down, and be able to just relax, have a good drink, sit amongst our friends, and we don't have to necessarily look over our shoulder or wonder who's looking at us or who feels like we shouldn't be there or anything like that, or even just have someone in our space that's just kind of just making the space toxic and unfun to be in, because we like to have fun too, and of course we're having fun, and we don't want people to be scared to talk to us, but like, there's a level and a way you address things. There's ways you can have conversations with us and still enjoy your time, and we can still enjoy our time. And hey, a friendship can build out of it if you approach everything right. So for all those 4 rules, I'll be writing a blog about it. Hopefully I'll be able to get it out next week, about these 4 topics. So if you aren't able to view this video, or you just want something more in word form, then make sure you check out that blog post. It's gonna have all this information, maybe even some resources as well. And of course, hope you see you guys at these breweries implementing some of these rules. And hey, you might interact with me on a positive basis. And I think that's pretty cool. Actually, that's super cool. If I could interact with me, 1,000% would. But hey, that's just my humble opinion. Anyway, before I head out of here, I just want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen. Hopefully, you guys implement this. So I thank you for the people that actually take this information and move forward with it. And the people that don't, shame on you. Keep watching this video until you believe what I said is true, and we'll go from there. But of course, you can follow me at The Bearded Brother on social media, Instagram, TikTok. I don't post that often on TikTok, so anyway, I'm on Facebook as well. I got a website, www.thebeardedbrother.com. It will be down in the description down here, and I'll put a little gizmo right here for the all my information there, so you can get all that and be able to get your links and all that good stuff. Shout out to, I can't remember the name ever, so sorry, Sly Fox Brewing Company for this IPA. It's fire, super resin, easy to drink if you're more of a seasoned beer drinker. But of course, make sure you review these or whatever beer you